Hello, it's Amy, and I'm back again reading from the Journal of Emily Shore. This is the diary of a teenage girl in the 1830s, and we are on the entry for April 20th, 1837. I have to give my opinion on Kirk White's poems, which I have finished. This, too, I must do shortly. They have greatly risen in my estimation. I think they display much feeling and have often great force and spirit. Some passages struck me very much. I extremely like the touching lines beginning, "Do I not feel? The doubt is keen as steel." To my thinking, the most original idea in all that he has written is as follows. The lark has her gay song begun, she leaves her grassy nest, and soars till the unrisen sun gleams on her speckled breast. I never before met with this idea to express the great height to which the lark ascends, and I like it. April 24th, Monday. The truth is, I am always apt to see things in richer colors at first sight, and then, writing about them while my fancy is yet heated, I unintentionally exaggerate, and I believe I have done this with almost all the scenes I have described in my journal. May 6th, Saturday. Mr. Dornford brought his phaeton at 10 o'clock in the morning and took Julie and me on a delightful drive to Holden, a very long and high hill which runs along the left of the Exe between Exeter and Teignmouth. I must, alack, be very brief. Above and before us the scenery was wilder than any I have ever seen. The rocky slope of Helden is thickly covered with larches, pines, heath, and gorse, and as we rose towards the top, to our right stretched hill beyond hill of wild, unbroken moorland. May 16, Tuesday. The thoughts of my pleasure on the coming morrow long drove sleep from my eyes, and I lay awake in excitement. And here we have in brackets an editor's note. A visit to her cousins at Teignmouth took place between May the 17th and June 24th. So that is excitement in advance of a trip. May 17th. Well, the wished-for morn is come at last. Mr. Dornford came for us at 10:30, and we set off in high delight. May 18th, at Teignmouth. I have been exceedingly anxious ever since I came to see the Warrens, and this evening, to my great joy, Matilda Warren, commonly called Tilla, drank tea with us. My cousins tell me that what they told Matilda of me put her in so mind in a dear friend of hers, called E.S., now no more, that it almost made her cry. Of this, E.S. Julia gave me an account extremely interesting today, though where the resemblance to me lies I cannot say. And then we have in brackets another editor's note. A visit to friends at Sidmouth, Bicton, Exmouth, Teignmouth, Torquay, and Marlden occupied the period between May 26 and June 24. On June 7 took place a picnic excursion to Bradley Woods, a merry young party who boated, scrambled, sketched and sang, recited poetry and read aloud, and dreamed happy young dreams by the sunlight and the sunset and the moon. But that summer day, intensely, as she enjoyed it, set the seal on the malady she was apparently recovering from. She caught cold, and from that time may be said never to have really rallied, though no one was aware of the fatal harm that had been done. So we have reached the tragic turning point in this journal. June 1st, Thursday, Bicton. I find William and Richard most delightful companions in walks. They are good, amiable, lively boys, thoroughly fond of scenery and perfectly well bred. It is pleasant to have a brother and cousin so civil, attentive, and good-naturedly ready to carry my sketch-book, help me over a stile, or do anything else which I could like them to do. Our excursion today was to Laderham Cove, which is about 2 miles and a quarter from Bicton, between the Otter and Sidmouth. The descent to Laderham is down a steep little rocky lane under a lofty cliff which rises before you in a very striking manner. Having descended this, we found ourselves on the beach in a magnificent cove in the shape of a semicircle, entirely surrounded by the grandest rocks I have ever seen. They are red and not merely perpendicular, but in many places overhanging. They are very rugged and craggy, hollowed by the waves into clefts and caverns, nearly bare, but adorned here and there with a few scattered tufts of grass, sea pink and gorse, and crowned at the top with straggling hedges. On each side of the entrance of the cove stands a very lofty, isolated rock, washed by the waves. One of these overhangs its base considerably, and looks ready to fall. It is crested with gorse, grass, and stunted pines. I was quite astonished at the grandeur of the spot, and ran up to Miss H., who, with the composure of perfect indifference, sat quietly on the shingles, holding her parasol over her, and looking neither to the right or left. "How grand, how magnificent this is!" I cried. "Ah," she says with great nonchalance, looking round. "It's very pretty, isn't it?" I was thoroughly provoked and marched off. June 5th, Monday, at Tynemouth. In the evening, as we were taking a walk on the Den, we met Mr. Henry Warren, who frequently walks over from Torquay. He joined us and walked up and down for some time, and afterwards spent half an hour with us at Spring Gardens. I was very much pleased with what I saw of him. He is decidedly a great improvement on the race of young men of the present day. He is a handsome young man of 23, dark and sunburnt, with curly black hair, and puts me very much in mind of A. Malkin. He has a particularly open, good-natured, good-tempered, pleasing countenance, most unaffected manners, and is quite gentlemanly. He has been at sea from the age of 14. He is naturally very shy, even to nervousness, but is nevertheless merry, good-humoured, and full of fun. It is arranged that he is to accompany us on Wednesday in an excursion we are going to make to Bradley Woods. June 7th, Wednesday. We went by water and had a boat to ourselves. The Bradley Woods are a mile from Newton, which is 7 miles up the Ten. We had a sweet walk through Newton to Bradley Woods. We first walked through lovely woods and lawns, between hills, and along the banks of hidden brooks murmuring in the shade, whose margins were profusely covered with stars of Bethlehem and bluebells. We came to a mill in a sweet spot, deep in a little valley between high rocky walls. As to giving a minute account of all that we did, that is impossible, for we were almost among these rocks and woods for 6 or 7 hours. Some rambled one way, some another, several sketched, and we were all much dispersed. Nearly the first thing I did was to sit down on an edge of a rock amongst the gorse, and sketch the profile of a bold rock and part of the valley. Mr. W. sat a little below me and sketched the same part. At last we voted that it was time to decamp. I first took a sketch of the 2 sailors who were lying down asleep on the grass, and then we rose, and having recalled Richard and Phoebe, who had gone exploring, we commenced our return to the water-mill beneath the rock. Mr. Warren and I were before the rest. We walked on conversing about Cooper's novels and other subjects. Phoebe afterwards joined us on the other side and sketched the mill, which is an old, highly picturesque building in a lovely situation. Mr. W. sketches very well, and in a free and spirited manner. The others, as usual, were scattered in all kinds of directions, some on the hill, some in the woods by the mill stream. At last we all assembled in the mill, where we were all refreshed ourselves, some with porter, others with excellent new milk, foaming from the cow. We then scattered again, and Mr. W. and R. took a scamper up a hill covered with gorse in pursuit of a young kite. But notice that we were going to return to the boat was now given, and Mr. Warren, Anna, R. and I crossed the mill stream and proceeded on our walk back to Newton before the rest. A and R lagged behind, and we 3 went on together. Mr. W. and I had a great deal of interesting conversation, chiefly about poetry and natural scenery, of both of which he is a great admirer, so that we agreed very well in our tastes. He repeated to me a few passages and bits from Byron and Shelley. On arriving at the Passage House, we waited some time for the rest of the party, who were delayed by Paulina's tumbling into the mill stream. I think it was 7:45 when we were all safe in the boat on our return. The sun set gloriously over the tors, and the twilight added to the exquisite beauties of the River Ten. Mr. W. sat next to me at the stern, and we talked almost all the way home, partly on the same topic as before, partly admiring the lovely scenery and beautiful heavens, partly about what Mr. W. had seen abroad. So ended our excursion to Bradley Woods, which altogether gave me more pleasure than anything of the sort I ever enjoyed. I only wish A. had not suffered so from headache. And I think I'll leave it there for today, because that sounds like a wonderful day. And my impression is that she was quite taken with the young Mr. W., Mr. Warren. But that's sad to learn from the editor's note that this was kind of her last good excursion before her health ultimately declined and took her from this earth.